day, new start, and me and Sam just did some calculations. Guess we kind of figured out a little problem with the drain system, and I'm about to explain to you guys what happened. From this point, the corner of the house, to the front area, we weren't going to put a drain in the middle area. In this middle area over here, we weren't going to put a drain. We were thinking about just sloping this whole side to the front, but problem with that we just figured out is that we weren't getting enough slope. So I'm gonna start digging out this little trench right here, connect to that downspout. We're gonna continue this and put a drain up, or a little drain pop up over there. And yeah, so in total we're gonna have 5 drains in this whole backyard. So this guy's gonna have great drainage overall. So if you guys actually watched part 1, I did explain how we were going to be running into this problem, a little bit of a foreshadowing this future problem that we were going to be having, but we didn't handle it. We got it fixed, and this is actually a sewer clean out we're working on right now, getting it set to the paver height for correct slopage and drainage. You can see we're starting to dig out this next little drain line that we needed to put in so that we could have at least 1.5% slope. I believe I went for 2% though, so 1.5 to 2%, I'm okay with that. So I'm actually using that Milwaukee level, making sure that I had slope once I was digging out that little trench. And then right here, I'm actually using the Milwaukee digital level to see my exact slope and percentage towards these drains. So you can see all of the stakes that we already put in the base, that we're going to be pulling all those out later, but I pretty much put stakes all around the perimeter of the drain line so that I can see what type of slope we're having, and then making sure that we're 3.25 from the farthest point of the drain to the drain. Once we figured we have everything graded properly, we started up our compactor, compacting the ground. We also watered the gravel pretty much every day. I don't think we show it, but that's what we also did just to help for compaction. Oh yeah, here we are. We actually do. Yeah, so we watered the ground as much as we can to really just help consolidate this base. And then after we did that, we actually go over it with a compactor again. And that's the little sewer clean out. And we're going to be putting artificial turf on this side, like I was saying in part 1. But that stake right there that we put the 2x4 on represents the outside border edge that we're going to be placing the end of the borders at. And I actually do have a drain right next to this AC unit. You can see, you can't see it on the screen right now, but there is a drain that we put on this side as well. And then we're just setting the sewer clean out to turf height, and this turf from the very back of that vinyl fence drains towards us. Very small, a very slight slope on it, maybe like 1%. But all the water is pretty much just going to drain right through the turf anyways. But if it does really start to get flooded, it'll drain towards the drain that we have at the end, toward next to this AC unit. You can see we're just flooding the area. And we tamp all of the base next to the house and edges where our compactor really just can't reach, like the corners and whatnot. I also put a little bit of water in the drains just to double check, making sure that everything's draining out to the front properly. Sam's looking down the other drain, making sure that's draining, which it was. And then we're actually going to be setting the outside border today, guys, next to the wall. And we're bringing in all the concrete right now because I put about a 3-inch base of concrete to lay the pavers on top of, to really lock the pavers in place so that if there's ever shifting or any movement, the pavers won't be able to move. You can see Sam in the background. He's setting up our new masonry wet saw right now, because I knew that there was going to be a ton of cuts since I put the border in first. There was going to be a ton of cuts that we were going to have to make, so I ended up buying a nice masonry wet saw. Got a pretty good deal on it too, since the box was damaged. Lowe's hooked it up, took $100 off, so can't beat those prices. Only problem I think that I have with this wet saw was I wish I got a bigger blade where I could just pass the pavers through one time and have it cut the whole thing without having to keep going back to bring it down more. Other than that, it does its job. We just got all the pavers set up for that border edge we're going to be putting in. We got Sam right over there in the background. He's trying to put together a wet saw for us so that we can cut all the pavers perfectly, pretty much, for our little bender board. At the very end down there, I don't know if you can see that, there it is, right down there, there's a little bin that we need to put some cuts in on. So that's pretty much the plan today, guys. We're going to be mixing all this concrete right there. We're going to mix all that concrete up, putting the pavers on top of concrete, really lock them in place, hold them there, so that when we do start laying out this whole patio, the pavers won't start trying to bulge out and break away from the borders. So we're gonna get to work, guys. I know we already talked about this in the first part, but if you haven't seen the first part, like I was saying, this was kind of a mistake putting the border in first. Most people probably would have put the border in last and just chop sawed it and just kind of built their pavers out to the very edge, or pretty much beyond the border, and then just snapped a string line across the borders and then chop sawed it. But I put my border in first just because I thought it was going to be easier having my elevations already set for my border height, so I can kind of use them as a guide when I was going to be putting the rest of the sand in. But it didn't really work as well as I thought it would, so for next time, now I know. But here we are, pretty much putting in the border, and this is going to be the highest point of the paver patio. I laser leveled this form board in, so I know exactly, being flush with this form board, the pavers will be perfectly level and set to the correct height. It's not always bad to put your borders in first, because you can actually use them as a guide or when you're screeding your base or sand. But it's better when you have a straight shot of a slope, when the slope is going just one way. But for ours, the slopes, there's so many ways that the water and slope is going that it's just not, it wasn't the best idea. Still worked out, just caused more work for us. Here we are trying out our new masonry wet saw. Gonna need it for this big old paver backyard patio. First cut of the day. Oh my god, it's got a laser?
Yeah, it does.
That's so cool. Alright, dude, I want to see that cut.
See if it works, guys. You ready for this?
So we're breaking in the masonry wet saw, and it was pretty nice, honestly. I was digging the laser at first, but later on the laser just seemed to start to disappear on the pavers, like the LED or something was just dying on it, and you end up later you couldn't even see the laser on it. So that cool little feature was not so cool anymore. But other than that, I mean, definitely did its job. No complaints from me. When you are trying to get your cuts for these bins and everything, it's you pretty much just want to cut them into nice little, kind of like pies. Cut one side as you're going around the bins. And here was the last little part of the paver border we had to place in. We had to concrete this one in as well, just to keep everything nice and locked. We actually already started putting most of the sand in, and this is what I was talking about. We used our stakes at the very border edge, the furthest point from the drain, and we put our 2x4 on top of those stakes, and we just used a level which was exactly 2 1/4, which we needed for our pavers to be set, and we used that as a screed. Since the stakes were already set to the highest point and the drains were already set to the lowest point, we just put those 2x4s on top of each one and rotted the sand with our 2-foot level, making sure that we're touching the top of the sand and the bottom of that 2x4 as we go along, rotting it, and that gave us perfect levels. I mean, it worked pretty well for us, but like I was saying in the very first part of this video, most people probably would have used PVC pipes, 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1 inch, however much sand you want to put in. Most people would have probably used that to rod and screed with. But like I was also saying, a lot of our area that we were working with was shaped like a dome, so I just think it would have taken just as long. Plus, we did find a pretty good system of how to go along getting our levels set for the pavers, which was pretty much rotting everything, and then also using a rake. Hey, what is going on, you guys? Here we are laying out the sand today for the pavers, just getting the base all prepped out pretty much, making sure we got slope from the borders to the drains, and right now we're just fixing this area over here, making sure we can get good slopage to that drain right over there. Sam's fixing a coupling right now on it, and we pretty much just been rodding all this sand with a 2-foot level pretty much with see these little stakes in the ground right here. We've been putting 2x4s pretty much on these all the way to those drains, and what we want is about 2 1/4 from bottom of the sand to the top of that 2x4, so we can fit those pavers perfectly, because those pavers, let me show you, these pavers are exactly 2 1/4. 1 second. Okay, there it is. See that, guys? We got 2 1/4. So that's what we're doing right now. We're just getting the base all prepped out. Pavers are coming tomorrow, and once we get this all set up, pavers are going in. It should take us about maybe 2 to 3 days to get all the pavers in. So, gonna get started. Using this Milwaukee res stick level is just amazing because it makes the job so much easier. Since we're trying to get about 2% slope from the furthest point, which is right here, all the way to that drain where we have our little radio box on, this is what we're doing right now. We're pretty much set stake to the furthest point. We only have 10 feet 2x4s right now, so we're having to do little break points in the little stakes right now that we're using. So put one right there, and then the rest will reach pretty much. So right here we have a 0.3 slope from this stake to that stake. Now, when I move this 2x4 all the way over to the drain, Sam's actually gonna help me move it real quick. So I move that stake now. Now that 0.3, there's still a 0.3 slope from there to there. Now from there to the drain, when we put this on, we get about 1.3. So we get about 1.65. So it's like 1.5% slope from the very back furthest point all the way to the drain, because you got to add that 0.3 from that point, then you got to add this point together. That gives you about 1.65% slope, which is a great slope for a paver patio. And everything will drain perfectly right to that drain. So that's what all the stakes are for, pretty much. We got a lot of different levels going on back here. We want to make sure when we get our basin and the sand, we're getting proper slopage, and we can just lay the turf or the pavers in very easily. That's what's so great about these this Milwaukee level. And right here, you can see we want 3 1/4 of base for the rock, because we want 1 inch of sand, all this sand right here, we want 1 inch of this stuff on top of the base, because the pavers, like I was saying earlier, are 2 1/4. So that's the whole goal. That's what we're doing right now. So we're gonna bring in a little bit of more base in, and then we're gonna go get our sand. So I hope I'm breaking this down well enough for you guys to understand and be able to even do this on your own if need be. But if not, you know who to call. Odell Complete Concrete. We'll install your pavers, concrete, any hardscape, even landscape. Also, guys, I would really appreciate a like on this video. Doing all the videos and editing takes a lot of my time, and you know, one little like shows a lot of appreciation to me. And even comment, guys. I always love hearing from you guys. Feedback is always helpful on what we can do to improve these videos. But other than that, guys, appreciate you guys just viewing the video in general. So we brought in a little bit more base because we had a little bit of low spots, and like I was saying, we want 3 1/4 from the bottom of those 2x4s to the drains. I think we had like 3 1/2, so it wasn't much more to bring in. After that, we're gonna go on another little run to get more sand. So we started up the compactor again because the last little area we didn't compact was towards the gate, the entrance area. So we're just compacting all the areas that we didn't have sand on, making sure that that base is nice and strong, ready for foot traffic. Also, it was just me and Sam this day, so we had a long day of just busting this job out. Bring in all the sand ourselves, compacting everything, grading everything, plus the filming. Making sure we get good shots for everyone to see how we lay out a paver patio, and so that you could probably even do it for yourself now. There's our tamper in the back, so that we can tamp all the edges next to the wall, just places where our compactor can reach. What I should have probably done is I should have just split a 2x4 into a 2 1/4, so I wouldn't have to use such a small little rotor at 2 1/4 level, because that'd take all day. But we actually did end up finding a better technique right here using our rake, because the other side of our rake, there's a small little lip at the end of it, which is 2 1/4 exactly as well. So we're like, wow, okay, this is way faster. Let's just start using the rake to grade all the sand. And that's exactly what we started doing, which sped the process up way faster. And also remember, guys, this is a 5-part series. This is part 2 right now you're watching. And I believe this is pretty much the wrap up of this part. So stay tuned for part 3, 4, and 5. That's actually when we start getting the installation of the turf and pavers. And these are very important parts to the whole project, though, guys. The whole setup is probably one of the most important parts. If you don't know how to set up or do setups for projects like these, your whole project is just gonna go downhill from there, because if you don't have a good setup, you're not gonna have a good final product. That's why I kind of like made these into 2 parts, because there's so much detail that you can really get into on explaining this kind of stuff, and I tried to break it down as best as I could for you guys. But other than that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the project, or the whole project, or the whole setup part at least. And I hope you guys stay tuned for part 3, 4, and 5. Don't forget to leave us a like, share, subscribe, comment. Love hearing from you guys. Feedback is awesome. And have a great day.